Oh, hi there. I'm Jordan. Welcome to Crooked Path Forge. We're gonna have a little chat here from my teaching shop. I know I missed my Anvil side chat last week, and this one's coming in a little late. This one's coming in on a Saturday, and I think I might start doing them on Fridays, which is the end of my week, instead of the beginning of the week, so I can show you a little more progress of things I've made. Why am I doing this on Saturday? Just how it worked out. Look, I got a lot of shit to do, so making a video is not always the highest priority, unless you guys share these around and really get some folks following them, and then it can become more of a priority. That's really all it comes down to. Anyway, let me show you some stuff I've been up to. Pretty excited about. Two pretty good sized commissions. I finally finished that long sax that I've been working on. It's a Kingwood handle here, African blackwood, a hand forged guard with some designs going on there. And that is just a really nice, really happy with that blade there. Pretty stoked. And then, kind of experimental, but it worked out really well. I made a Viking style axe with a spike on the back. So that required, a piece of steel for the bit of the axe blade to go in here and be forge welded together. And it required a second piece of tool steel to be forge welded on the back to create the spike. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. That's a really, I'm pretty dang pleased with that. So that's gonna be a special commission right there. Pretty stoked. And then I also wanted to address, I had made a post on my Facebook about, I've got a new apprentice named Zori, and she's been coming over to the shop helping out. And I had a little video of her hammering, and she had her thumb out on the spine of the hammer as she was swinging. And, I told her that's not good technique. I said, hey, get your thumb off. She gets her thumb off, and she laughs. It's funny. Shared it. And a number of people on Facebook were like, wow, I do it that way. I don't see what's wrong with that. I had other people asking, why do you not want to have your thumb off there? And, I wrote a reply there on the page, but I just thought I would want to talk a little bit more about it here in a way where I can show and tell, That's important with these things. And with a lot of blacksmithing, there's so much mythology, there's so many nebulous concepts and ideas. There's something works good for you, it doesn't work well for somebody else. So there's a lot of these things where it's like, well, this is the way I learned and this is how I'm doing it. And if you're successful at doing it, you're safe, and it works, then I don't really care how you do it. If your thumb is on there, if your first finger is extended, right? If you're a little British lady, you need to keep your pinky out. What the fuck do I care, right? I am interested in teaching people how to be safe and how to do things correctly. But I understand that there's a lot of options for correctly. That being said, let's talk about why I don't like the thumb on the back. It starts with when you're swinging the hammer here. All that force going into that anvil is going to rebound, especially if you have a good springy anvil, right? And that force is going to bounce back at you. All that force, if your thumb is out on the back, is going to get absorbed right here into this joint, right? And your thumb doesn't like to bend that way. and you're putting force and pressure on it that way. It's not healthy for your thumb. Right? So you want to keep that thumb off. The other reason is your thumb back here limits your range of motion when you're swinging. So I'm going to kind of have an abbreviated swing here because there's not enough height on this video to see it. But as I bring my hammer up, right, my wrist can only bend so far back, and my hammer is keeping this from coming, or my thumb is keeping this from coming any further back. If I remove my thumb, you can see how much farther back I go. Now when I swing, there's a greater range of motion that hammer takes. And as that hammer's coming down, right at the end, I give a little snap with these fingers, like that. And it pop, gives us a nice little extra acceleration as we hit the anvil. It's also a nice way of keeping that hammer loose in my hand. A tight grip on that hammer causes all the force of your swings to go up into your body, even if your thumb is not there. And over time, those hits add up and they start wrecking your joints as you turn into an old man, which I'm, busy working on. So these are the reasons that I've been told and taught is a bad idea to have your thumb out on the back. Now, how do I know that it's going to damage you and be unhealthy? Well, the only way I would know is either to luck out and find some kind of research paper written on blacksmiths and thumbs and hammers, which I think is unlikely. But I have talked to medical professionals, and they have agreed, yeah, that's probably not a great idea. I could prove it for sure by hammering with my thumb out for the rest of my life and then have a wrecked hand and go, well, see, but you know what? I'm not going to do that. Nor am I going to teach people to do that. The way I know is by looking at the professionals who've come before me, looking at the blacksmiths who are skillful and mindful and aware of good technique and following their good example. So every blacksmith, and I specifically mean blacksmith, not bladesmith, not knife maker, but blacksmith that I've encountered who is skillful and mindful of good technique, not a single one of them has encouraged anybody to put their thumb out on this hammer. Yuri Hoffe, who I've not met, but he's probably one of the best known and most skillful blacksmiths recently passed, but he has a video on how to swing a hammer correctly. And this dude was, in his 80s at least, still swinging a hammer every day. How many hammer swings has he swung over his life? 1 million times. And still able to do that because he's swinging correctly with good technique. And he specifically said, do not put your thumb out on the back of the hammer. So a number of people had said, well, it's something I do, and it seems to work for me. And, my reply in the actual log there is going to be the same here, which is to say, well, maybe you got lucky. Maybe you've been lucky. Maybe you haven't been swinging a hammer 4 or 5 days a week for the last 20 years. And so it hasn't caught up to you yet, I can spray paint a room and it doesn't kill me. But if I spray paint a room without a mask on, for 10 years, there's going to be a difference there, right? It may also be that you're not hitting as hard as a blacksmith does. And I'm not saying you can't hit as hard. I'm not trying to, I'm not shooting a jab at you. I'm not throwing shade. I'm just saying that the techniques you're doing, right? Like, maybe you're a silversmith and you keep your thumb out on the back, right? Well, maybe you don't need to hit as hard as a blacksmith does when you're swinging. And so the thumb effect is not an issue for you. I know a lot of framers and carpenters who put their thumb back on the back, right? And so they're certainly not swinging a hammer in the same way, in the same style, against the same material as a blacksmith is, right? Hammering a nail into wood is pretty soft, and so there's not the kind of rebound that you get from hitting an anvil. Another thing to think about is I'm teaching new people, right? If you're experienced and you're doing this on your own, you do whatever the hell you want to do, right? I'm really not trying to judge anybody else. I wouldn't be saying all of this if I saw somebody at a demonstration who had a thumb on their hammer and they were swinging, right? Or if you shared a TikTok video and you had your thumb out on the back of a hammer and you were swinging. I wouldn't be making this video if that was the case. I would see it and I would, I probably would notice it because it's something I look at, but I wouldn't even say anything to you if you were the guy doing it. I'd just go, whatever, nice work, right? I'm not interested in judging other people, but when I'm teaching people, it is 100% my responsibility. That person is going out into the world. They may be hammering for the rest of their life. And if I started them off with bad technique, then that's on me, and I take that extremely seriously. So that's why, it's part of why I'm making this video, and perhaps not, I'm not mad or anything like that. But it's been running in my brain, it's been a little hamster in his wheel going around going, well, buddy, you better tell people how you do this. So here we are anyway. But I guess what I'm trying to say is when you're a beginner, you're learning new things, you're learning new habits, and perhaps there is a reason to put your thumb out, right? And I believe that there are good reasons to occasionally have your thumb out on the back of the hammer. But a new person doesn't know when those reasons are, when the right way to do it and the wrong way to do it, when it's okay for the thumb, when it's not. So what we do is we start with the safe way. We start with the sort of default hammer swing, right? And we build that muscle memory, that technique, we get it going as they're swinging, right? And working that hammer. Then once they get experienced and they can make their own informed decisions on how they want to work, they can absolutely maybe occasionally put their thumb out, right? I mean, shit, you could put it between your legs and do this. If it works for you, then I don't care. That's great, it works for you. But coming out of my shop, going out into the world, becoming a blacksmith, I just, that's what I got to do. You need to learn the rules and learn them correctly before you know when and where to break the rules. And that's really what is one of my little mantras, right? So an example, and I can't find this guy's video again, but I was watching a video of a farrier who was in a competition. He was speed forging horseshoes, and he absolutely was putting his thumb back on the back. But this guy's a professional. This guy's better than me. I mean, he's better than most of us, right? This dude is he's better at me. He's better than most of us at making horseshoes super fast, let me say. But he really had the system down. He knew what he was doing 100%. And you could see what he was doing. When he was tapping lightly and needed precision, he absolutely had his thumb back, right? And then all of a sudden he had to, I gotta do this technique. I gotta wail on it, right? And he'd bring his hand way up and come down, and his thumb would be off. And so that tells me that he's aware that big heavy swings with your thumb on the back of the hammer are bad technique. But he's also aware that occasionally the thumb on the back does help. And so he uses that when he wants and when he doesn't want, right? But a beginner, a new person, an apprentice in my shop, they don't know that yet. So I'm not going to teach them too far ahead of what they need to do. For myself, I've yet to find that I've lost so much accuracy in even the lighter, more precise swings. I've found that I'm not missing out very much on accuracy by having my thumb there, by not having my thumb there, because even my light swings, I swing with the hammer in my fist, and it doesn't seem like I'm missing in a way that, I'm scratching my head going, oh, damn, I'm doing something wrong here. I mean, look at this guy. He doesn't miss a single blow, and he gets his hammer right where he wants it every single time, and I'm just not able to do that. It's not like I'm going to suddenly start putting my thumb out on the back of the hammer, and immediately it's going to be like a targeted guided missile. I'm not perfect. I'll never hit the same exact spot more than 3 times in a row. I've gotten it twice in a row before in mind. But I think you get my drift. I think that explains most of this. And it really is like, right? Like the people who made some comments about, hey, this is what I do. Good, right? Do it. Keep doing it. I don't care. I'm really not trying to throw shade at anybody who's doing it any different than I am. I'm merely trying to explain why the Crooked Path Forge School of Blacksmithing does and shows what it does without a judgment on how other people operate, you know? I think I just had my first rant. There it is. I love you guys. Be well. Hammer on.